Welcome to the Seth Barbman On Podcast, from startup to stock exchange.
The headline summary is the opportunity that you have to go ahead and answer 3 questions. Question number 1, tell people what you do. Question number 2, who do you do it for? And number 3, why should I care? Again, what do you do? Who do you do it for? And why should I care? And with the answers to those questions, the goal is to stand out. You want to show people that if they connect with you, there's something of value that you can accomplish together. And that gives them the incentive to scroll down to learn more about you. So let's move along in terms of an overall breakdown of activity on LinkedIn. And I've put it into different categories. You've got targeting, connecting, exploring, closing, and then branding. And I'm going to touch on each one of these topics in a very short and concise manner. When it comes to targeting, as a CEO of a company, you essentially have to wear 2 hats. Okay? If you're in the widget industry, I am sure that you know everything there is to know about widgets. But how are you supposed to know about raising capital, about going public? How are you supposed to know about meeting analysts or financial bloggers? And so the 2 hats are, on the one hand, you have to run your business as a business. On the other hand, you have to run the company as a public company. Or even if you're not public, you have to run the company as a media company. Because in my mind, it doesn't matter to me what business you're in, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a nonprofit organization, or whether you're selling cleaning supplies. At the end of the day, you're also a media company because you're constantly trying to get your story out. So, for example, let's say you are looking to meet people in the financial arena. So, there is a fantastic resource on the NEBA website, nebanet.org. And what's amazing about this resource is they list the members of the NEBA organization. So you've got a list of about 120 targets of service providers and underwriters and investment bankers. Now, if you were to go to any investment banking firm on that list, let's pick, for example, Lafferty. Okay? Now, you go to LinkedIn, top left, and you type in Lafferty, and that opens up 2 opportunities for you. Number 1 is you are able to connect to the firm and follow the firm. And this way, anytime they do any events, anytime they do any announcements, anytime they initiate any coverage, you will automatically be made aware of their activity. You don't have to go out and search for it. And after you've connected to Lafferty as a company, you can then scroll through all of their employees and connect to the CEO or CFO or investment bankers at Lafferty. And then that will enable you to continue dialogue with the individual, which we'll discuss in a minute. But let's say you're not in the public arena. Let's say, for example, you want to meet people in the healthcare industry, so you want to connect to a healthcare analyst. If you go in and you type in very specific terms that are unique to your industry, it will give you tremendous topics to be able to go after. So when I type in the word healthcare analyst, I get close to 39,000 potential connections of people in that industry. And then with various tools, I can sort that down by state and by company till I find a more manageable amount of people within my target category that I can then approach. Another random example, let's say you're in the insurance business, D&O perhaps, and you want to reach out to CFOs of publicly traded companies. It's very simple, not rocket science. Type in NASDAQ CFO, type in OTCQB CFO, and you'll get a very, very specific target group. And the reason I mention all this is because you might think, oh, well, it's a matter of just clicking and adding some connections, and it's cute. I'm encouraging you to look at it in a different light. These connections are really assets. Whether you have 500 connections, 1,000 connections, 10,000 connections, these are all homegrown. And once you've built this internal database, you can extract the data, you can extract the emails, and now you have a target list of 5,000 to 10,000 people, not random people, but people that you yourself have chosen. And then you can do your own messaging. You can do your own email blasts, whether it's Constant Contact or MailChimp. And that's the value of having a connection. There's another value of having a connection. Because at the end of the day, a connection is a warm lead. This person has looked at who you are, they've looked at your profile, they've seen your picture, they've checked out your message, and they still want to connect with you. That means they are one step closer to embracing you. That means when they accept you, they are open to potential networking between the two of you. You know, it's funny, I'll be honest, even though I'm up here speaking in front of you today, I am probably one of the most antisocial people in this room. Like, at a conference, I'd rather be that guy that stands in the corner and is just texting on his phone the whole time, so I don't have to go over to a stranger and introduce myself. But, as much as I don't like speaking to a stranger that I don't know, whether it's out of fear of rejection or just not knowing the person, if I do know that that person is a warm lead or knows what I do and is still interested in speaking with me, then I'm fine to continue the dialogue with him. And so that's what a connection is. It's a warm lead. And I would like for you to think about it as if it's a real-life connection. This is not something that's just an online click, jam your services down the person's throat. Think of it as a real-life dialogue in that if you went out with somebody on a first date, you wouldn't ask them to marry you within the first 5 minutes of the date. And it's the same thing with your connections. Let it breathe a little bit. You know, as soon as somebody connects with you, don't send them a message like, oh, did you hear about this great service that I'm offering and we have a special going on this month? You know, get 10% off. Don't send that type of a message within 60 seconds of the person accepting your connection. There has to be some dialogue. Get to know each other a little bit. And there are very specific examples. Like, I'll just tell you the other day, you see here from the messaging board, there was a gentleman, Ryan Scott. I've never spoken to him on the phone, but we've had some nice interaction back and forth. I put out a message that I was interested in ICO's initial coin offering, and as a transfer agent, I was looking for some technology. And he went ahead and he said to me by message through LinkedIn, oh, you know, why don't you speak to these and these people or this firm, and if you'd like an introduction, I'd be happy to do so. And I do find, and I hope you will as well, that LinkedIn overall is a very networking-focused type of environment. People don't get upset most of the time when you ask them to connect, and most of the time, people are very giving and sharing with their Rolodex. So now you've got all these connections. Let's talk about how it helps your brand, whether that brand is you as an individual or that brand is your company. You've got these connections, and now the point is to be able to tell a story. I can't tell you how often I deal with CEOs who, as we mentioned earlier, go through tremendous effort to become publicly traded and listed on an exchange. You know, S1, 211, DTC, DWAC, and then they say, now what? And I say, now what? Now go fly, go tell your story. But how do we tell our story? How do we get people to know what we're doing? So there are two types of posts that I would suggest you try to do every day or every other day or even 2 times a day. There's what I call a selfish post. And again, this is activity that you are putting out to your newfound audience. And it's selfish, not in a negative way, but it's about you. So if you or your company just signed a new contract, let people know about it. If you have a press release, put it out. Let people know about it. If you're a biotech company and you just received FDA approval, put it out there. So these are all things about you or your company. But the better post and the better action item that you can do is to offer value to your audience of 1,000 or 10,000. And this goes back to what I said earlier with the Go Giver, to always be offering value. What type of value do I mean? You can post things about industry updates. You can post things about upcoming conferences that people might benefit from. And people appreciate getting this information from you. I'll give you an example. When I was in the Edgar business 10 years ago, we would put together a list over the weekend of every S1 IPO registration statement that was filed for the prior week. And we would include the name of the lawyers, the CEO, the CFO, the underwriters, just industry data that was free. But we put it together in a sense, in a way that people would be able to comb through it and look for whatever it was that made them happy. And it got to the point where we would send out this list every Monday morning so that if something happened and we didn't send the list out, I would start to get emails. Hey, where's your Monday morning list? Where's your Monday morning information? And slowly but surely, our brand became associated with the value of this information that we were giving out. Another example, there was an attorney that I was chasing after probably for about 9 months, trying to win an IPO from him. And I did not get the time of day. And then one day he does call me up and he says, I have another deal for you. And I said, that's fantastic. I'm excited. I appreciate it. We'll do a great job. We'll knock it out of the park. But I have to ask, I've been chasing you for 9 months. Why all of a sudden are you calling me to give me the opportunity to work on this IPO? And he said, I'll tell you the truth. I've been watching you on LinkedIn. So what does that mean? He says, well, I see on LinkedIn when you post that you're welcoming new clients. I see the caliber of clients. I watch you on LinkedIn when I see that you're speaking at an event or hosting an event, and I see the caliber of conferences that you're attending. And I see some of the industry data that you've aggregated and that you're putting out for others. And so at this point, based on your LinkedIn activity, I'm comfortable and would very much appreciate the chance to work with you. So there is a very tangible result that people can see when it comes to LinkedIn branding, because over time, again, that value that you're offering becomes one with you or your company, and that's a good thing. I see that my time is almost up. I just want to touch on one more quick topic, and that is groups. Groups are fantastic because you can join 5, 10, 15, 20 different groups, but targeted groups that will benefit you. So, for example, there's a group on PIPEs, private investments in public companies. There's a group on going public. There's a group on NASDAQ. There's a group on the OTC. There's a group on reverse mergers. And what's great about groups is one word: volume. Because if each group has 1,000 members, 500 members, 15,000 members, then when you're in that group and you're posting information, again, hopefully it's valuable information for the group, but you are increasing the number of eyeballs that are seeing your information. On top of that, there's a secondary benefit. When you're in a group, you then have the ability to connect with the other members of the group, where you may not have otherwise been allowed to message that person. And you're messaging the fellow group member knowing that you share common DNA with them because you're both members of that group. You have common interests. And so, again, that gives it a little bit of a warm lead feel. And so groups is a fantastic way to increase volume of eyeballs. So I want to end by offering value. If I can help in any way with your LinkedIn profile or with any introductions from my contact base, thank God we've got about 20,000 connections at this point. And I also want to end by giving value. Anybody who gives me a message over LinkedIn, or if it's a new connection, connects with me after 9 p.m. this evening, I've got 2 copies of The Go-Giver that I'd like to present to you. So thank you very much for your time. I wish you the best of luck at the rest of the conference.